My name is Priest and I'm a dispenser in a pharmacy.
My name is Luke Pittman. I'm a fabricator welder full-time, but it's not really my passion in life.
My name is Simon Tyler. I'm the owner and proprietor of Quickside Vinyl Records.
I'm Les Best and I run the music shop called Hatters Hall in Faversham.
What is my passion? Music.
My passion's always been music.
Passion is singing, is music.
Say anything to do with music, the technology, the production, the equipment, anything. I'm just, obsessed with music.
Wrong key. It always helps when you have the right key. Welcome to my crib.
Let's see if this will work. It looks a lot more complicated than it is. Basically, the main thing is this, which is what I use. It's like an interface. It's just what I use to get the music from the guitar, the piano, into my MacBook. It's just an interface, and just saved up, got a really good one so I could get a nice clear sound from my guitar into there, and from my mics into there, and I think that's the most important piece of equipment. This is my makeshift sort of like keyboard arm that covers some of the I checked how much it would be to get a keyboard arm. It's like £300, and I was like, I'm not spending £300 on a keyboard arm. So this is actually a mic arm. What I've done is I shoved the keyboard in the middle just so it's convenient.
What if you need to press the teeth?
Gotta have to pull it out of it. It's just finding ways to deal with like problems you encounter. Like the main thing is the passion's always been there, but it's just finding solutions, and I want to go from here to here, but these are the barriers. Trying to find ways to solve those is, I think, is the main thing for me. It's never really been it's never really been a lack of ideas. It's just like, how do I tackle this problem? My backstory, my introduction to music. I tend to say I started late, but that's not true. I started playing instruments late, but I've always been producing music since about the age of 10, 12, I think year seven. I think year 7, I got a copy of Fruity Loops. I say I got a copy of Fruity Loops, but I think it was a LimeWire copy of Fruity Loops. And there's this guy called Clive, and he was really, really good at like making his own music on Fruity Loops. And I thought, I want to do that. I want to try my hands on that. And I tried, and I remember getting the like Justice League theme tune and chopping it up into bits and trying to rearrange it and create my own and it was awful, it was terrible, but that was my introduction to Justice League and Fruity Loops and LimeWire. That was my introduction into music.
Introduction to music. The introduction to music was my father used to play piano in a local pub, as it happens, and he was one of these people who put a beer on one side and sing all the old London songs. My grandparents were quite musical, most of the family were quite musical, so it was always music. I used to tap dance behind the curtain at home, you know. I was probably about 16 so we got into the sort of rock music, the Doors and bands like that, and Stones and stuff like that from the age of around about 12, and we took it from there. I actually sort of promoted a lot of bands. I promoted Bowie and all the early Hawkwind and the Pink Fairies and Blondie and Clash and loads of bands in the days. I promoted an awful lot. And a friend of mine had a record shop called Rock Bottom in Whitstable, and I decided he wanted to sell and move into a Canterbury shop called Canterbury Rock, and I bought his shop. To do that, I sold my American car, which I had a big 58 Oldsmobile. So I had loads of American cars, but I had that one. I sold the car and bought his record shop, and that got me into actually buying and selling records.
So when I was born, when I was a kid, no. My dad was a very big rock fan, sort of metalhead, if you like, and he got me into a lot of music when I was younger, when I was, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, as early as I can remember, really. And I remember he'd always sort of, I was sat in the front seat of his car and he'd have a tape and he'd put it in, and some of the earliest tapes I remember were Nirvana, Nevermind, Pearl Jam 10, it was Black Sabbath, Paranoid, there's some Iron Maiden ones. He just got me really into the sort of rock, hard rock, metal sort of scene, really. And that's when my sort of love for music sort of grew, really. It was really from my dad.
My backstory, well, my introduction to music was ages ago, really. My growing up in the 70s, we had music in the house. We had a lot of jazz and a lot of Beatles and that sort of stuff. And then punk happened, and punk was amazing because it just meant anyone could do it, anyone could join in, and anyone could be a part of music rather than it being some sort of exclusive club just for rich hippies. And yeah, through that I played music when I was younger, but just developed an absolute love of music as something which helped me to express myself and to I don't know, really, it's hard to explain. It's just a life force, really. It's just something that I've had with me all the time and I reach to all the time.
Was it social media? Yeah. Social media helps in the sense that it's easier to find like-minded people in different parts of the world.
So social media is a complete bullshit, really. I mean, you know, social media is definitely a bit of a troublesome sort of concept, really. On one hand, it's amazing. Sort of like Join My Band is a website where people can talk and put ads out, and that's where I found all of my music. Well, the vast majority of my musicians that I've worked with and bands. So if that didn't exist, then yeah. But on the other hand, it's just a terrible, terrible thing. I mean, you know, Spotify is brilliant for the listener. I mean, I've got a sort of playlist on there which has got sort of over 1,500 songs on there, and it's amazing. But for the actual artist, it's ridiculous.
I think I've made £25 from all the songs I've got on Spotify. I think I've got 5 or 6 songs on Spotify, and £25 for all the for all the streams. It's like, I think one of them's got 1,500 streams, another's got about 800. I'm not doing massive numbers, but if you're gonna make this your career and you're looking at it, doesn't encourage one to keep on going. There's always that. Yeah, there's always that thought in my mind that, yeah, I'd like to do it full time, but realistically, the amount they're paying doesn't make it seem doable.
It affected from the point of view of record sales, yeah. Record sales went right the way down, really. I reduced my record sales down to a mere table, under the table in the other room, in fact, at one point. One day I came down the stairs and there was someone under my table rummaging through the records. I thought, who's that? I said, hiya, how you doing? And Bob Geldof turned up. Hi man, I'm just looking at some records for one of the girls.
Albums are not cheap, and so the fact that you can have everything for free, everything in the shop is pretty much available for free if you want it. Why would you need a record if you can have everything in your phone? And you go, oh, because actually it's about more than those ones and zeros making things, as it's equally more about a needle in a groove going round and round. It's about an emotional connection.
It's just everything is now for, let's do it for the gram, let's do it for social media. I'm not too sure if that's always been the case. I remember watching videos of the Beatles and people in the front going, oh my gosh, it's John Lennon. Everyone's screaming, and I'm like, okay, is that the same thing? Have we now got the same thing with phones where everyone wants to be seen? Whereas back then, they were just doing it because it was all their friends, and you couldn't necessarily capture it on your camera. I keep thinking, is it the same? Is music being kind of consumed differently? Is it more of a, I want to be seen like in this band, as opposed to, I now really like this band, I now really like this musician? It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. It's difficult.
New artists seem in a sea full of other artists where they can't get out, they can't sort of stand out, they can't be sort of saved, they can't shine. And that is the issue with social media. It's brilliant because it gets you heard around the world and it can get you noticed, but it's also terrible because everyone around the world is doing the same thing as you are. They're all trying to get on Facebook, they're all trying to get on Instagram, they're all trying to get on TikTok, they're all going to try and get on YouTube and Spotify and Amazon Music everywhere they can, and it's just ruining it, in my opinion. And it's sort of not allowing a true artist to come through.
The more bands can get out there and show themselves, and the more they can play live, which is a little bit of a flat thing. Live, some of the live stuff is not happening so much more on the local basis and mediocre basis. The big bands are all out there still doing it, but the more that bands can be seen on the media circuit, it's really important, because if they're not, people just don't know about them, and they don't get to, and so if the band doesn't put themselves out there and they show themselves on all different sorts of it can be just recorded format, but the actual being seen out there, don't matter if it's coming back on the actual media or playing live, it's really important. Otherwise they'll fall flat on their face. It won't happen.
There's a whole sort of algorithm which is ridiculous. You really have to follow certain steps to get involved in the algorithm, and it's ridiculous because if you don't follow the exact route it wants you to, it will just throw you off the path, and then someone else will come along and they'll just put their song in front, and it's a very crazy sort of way. And I think people at the minute are really chasing the whole social media, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and it's dangerous.
My worry with social media at the moment is that everyone's too critical on it. So you can put out your song, you can put out your record, you can put out your press release about your albums or whatever, and then suddenly you bump into the world of TripAdvisor or crazy TripAdvisor. So rather than, so you put something out saying this is out, I've just released this album, and then you'll get a whole bunch of people who will like it and be positive about it, and then suddenly you'll get 3 or 4 people who say, well, I prefer this artist, or I think that's crap, or I don't like that. And then suddenly a whole wave of negativity comes in, and it makes things really nasty, not even tribal, it's almost as if people can't accept that someone has a different point of view as them. It's almost as if, so I think what social media does is almost make people sort of socially autistic in a way. It's like, well, hang on, I don't like Guns N' Roses. Why are you posting about Guns N' Roses? And rather than saying, hey, someone's posting about Guns N' Roses, I don't care about that, I'll ignore it, they have to comment on it. So suddenly you get this terrible negative dialectic which goes on, which is, I don't like that part of it. So I think it's good in one respect, but it worries me, the negativity that bubbles to the surface way, way, way too quickly.
As for the future, I'm hopeful for it. I can sort of say goodbye to my day job now, my sort of welding, and then just sort of do music full time and earn a living out of my sort of music, where I don't have to do the welding anymore and I can literally put all of my time and effort into my music. That then in my head I'd be like, yeah, I've made it. You know, fame is obviously quite a big thing to a lot of people.
Not to you.
Huh?
Not to you.
Not to you. Not to me.
Is it not to you?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah. I think fame is a big. I would like to be famous. Definitely, I think a lot of people are. I mean, some people don't, and that's completely fair enough. And I get that. I get what fame brings along the way. And I don't want to be famous for the money. That's really not what I want. I want to be. I mean, you don't even have to be famous for this, but I want people to listen to my music, listen to my vocals, listen to my lyrics, and be moved by it. I just want people to hear my music, and I want them to feel as passionately as I did making it. So any advice I'd have to any new musicians or anyone sort of starting up and finding it hard, just keep on going. Trust me, it will eventually. If you're that passionate about it and you want it that badly, it will happen. It will come to you. It might take ages, but it will happen. Don't make music a chore. If you make it a chore, then you're just going to hate it, and it won't be worth doing. Music is meant to be fun. It's meant to be a release. It's meant to be freedom. Don't make it a sort of ball and chain. Don't do that. Just do what you want to do.
Get out there, project yourself, push yourself to the limits. Make sure your contacts are good and use every bit of them you can, because quite often you only get 1 or 2 chances, and then you get too old and then you won't make it. But know your stuff and be confident when you go out and do it. You've got to project yourself when you go out onto that stage. You've got to throw your voice. You've got to know what your audience want to hear from you, and you've got to make sure that you give them exactly that, and then you'll get successful. Hopefully.
Turn up. Turn up. Believe in yourself. Work hard. It's hard work. Songwriting's hard work, performing's hard work, but actually get out there and do it. It's really easy to think you're not good enough, that someone's better than you, but actually once you cross that boundary and you're on a performance space, you just have to commit and do it. Lines of lyric.
It's hard to pull.
It is hard to pull from the air. I've been blessed with some bright ideas. So bright, I thought they were heaven sent. But now I'm 6 months in arrears. Divine intervention won't pay the rent.
Oh, everyone's got, I don't want to sound preachy. Priest, preach. It's in my nature to preach. I think my music is quite niche. The sort of music I make is quite niche, so I'm aware that it's for maybe a specific group of people. I'm not trying to limit myself, but I've just realized, like, based on looking at my following on social media, likes and things like that, it kind of, YouTube gives you that stats so you can see the age to gender, like, oh, people in this category, people in this. Most of my fans are in Canada, by the way. Most of the people who listen to my music are in Canada. So, based on those analytics, I realized I'm never going to be that mainstream popular guy, but that's okay. I'm comfortable making music that people like me, or people Canadian. That Canadian's like, yeah, I'm happy making music for the people of Canada. What else would I be doing if I didn't have this? And I think it has been a source of joy, so I can't really complain. Quote by Frank Zappa is, "Without deviation from the norm, progress is not possible." So I always try to think in terms of everyone has a place in the arts, everyone has a place in music, you don't have to follow what this person's doing, or you can deviate from what everyone else is doing, because you are an individual and you do have your own voice. Any last words? What do people normally say to round up interviews? And to any younger teens out there thinking of pursuing a career in the arts, now's not the time. Aim a bit lower, maybe Tesco checkout. Maybe a dispenser and pharmacy, just anything but music, anything apart from music, please. I'm just trying to help you. I'm just, everyone's different, everyone's got their voice. You might think your art is shit, but it's not, it's needed. I guarantee you there is one person out there that will like something that you've created that you might not think highly of, but there is someone out there that does. So just put it out anyway. You have to just put it out anyway. Yeah, that's it.
You're not gonna leave that in, are you?
Family intro.
Imagine that. No one's gonna take me seriously.